Welcome to Del Beccaro and Hook. I am Steve Hook. There's Tom Del Beccaro. We invite you to check us out on our Rumble page and, of course, our YouTube page. We're also very excited to be on Patriot TV now. You can find our landing page there at patriot.tv/DHED. That's Del Beccaro Hook Enlightened Dissent. You get it. So that's it. We got a big show today. A great guest coming up in a little while. A guy that took California and basically said, we're going to put voter integrity laws in our community, whether you like it or not, Gavin Newsom. So we look forward to talking to Tom's friend and soon to be my friend, Tony Strickland, in a bit. But Tom, hey, buddy, how you doing? It's good to see you. Thanksgiving is around the corner. And this is our big, before we stuff the bird, we got a stuff a show full of great info, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good time in politics. It takes about 1 hour for breaking news to occur all day long. And in the middle of the night, I keep waking up to texts who the next cabinet pick is. I know you want to talk about that today. There's a California revolution going on voter ID, and it could sweep the state. It could sweep the nation. Huge percentage of Americans, 84%, believe in voter ID. And if California can enact that in the next couple of years, wouldn't that be great? But I know you want to start off with the cabinet picks. I want to talk to the viewers about Scott Bessent in a minute, but I know you have a favorite topic you want to address.
I do. The thing is, and you'll recall, Tom, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about Matt Gaetz. And I remember saying that, man, this could have just been a balloon, kind of a weather balloon, just throwing it up there to see what happens. Now, I don't know if there was any truth to that or not, but as it turns out, it did end up being a strategically brilliant move. Whether it was intended to be, I don't know. But Matt Gaetz pulled out, apparently, some of the details of this investigation were going to be leaked. We knew that was going to happen. He said, I'm bagging out beforehand. Now, that frees Trump up to pick another AG, and I don't think he could have picked a better one than Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi, of course, tough as nails. She was AG of the state of Florida, one of the largest states in the nation, and she did a brilliant job, and she's got the liberals running scared because they don't know how to attack her. After all, if your entire political party is made up of identity politics and you go after a woman, it's not going to look too good. So they're scared of her. And Tom, just to kind of give you an example, you may have seen this. This was on, I think it's on MSNBC, but listen to the commentator, what he says about Pam Bondi. It's pretty telling, I think.
That's where he would get these people from. Unlike William Barr, even going back to when we were all kids and like Janet Reno, right? Occasionally attorney generals try to behave like they are not the personal lawyer of the president of the United States. That is completely out the window. Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear, because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that. Florida has enacted all sorts of rules and laws to curtail students and what they can do on campuses and finding legal justifications for manipulating education money. She is a dangerous and effective pick, and that's frankly worse than what we would have got with Matt Gaetz, even with the deplorable moral background that he has.
Yeah, I did see that clip. Some of you may have seen I was guest hosting the morning show Wake Up America on Newsmax this past week, and I'm doing it tomorrow morning as well, Monday morning from 6:30 to 9. And we saw that clip. We talked about it. I want to say a couple of things about that. Number one, what was Eric Holder's position? Oh, yeah, Attorney General. But he described it a little different than Attorney General. He said he was Obama's wingman. So every time I hear one of these liberal commentators tell me that a president picks someone loyal to him, what's he supposed to do? Pick someone who's disloyal to him? It's idiotic. Not to mention, the Attorney General of Obama was his wingman, who what? Was held in contempt because he wouldn't give information because he was a bleeding wingman. That's number one. Number two, I'll tell you why I love the Pam Bondi pick. She focused and always has focused on sex trafficking and issues related to missing people, children at the border. She can hit the ground running on what is a tragic, tragic issue that the left has ignored. And in the first Trump administration, he was big on that. He's back at it again. And I am so incredibly pleased that she will be AG, because I know that's very important to her. It's not, she's just not going to mail it in. It's very important to her.
Yeah. And she really is tough as nails on these issues. And, you know, Jason Johnson just kind of gave up the ghost, didn't he? He said that. She's competent. Oh, God. Now, that presupposes that Matt Gaetz wouldn't have been competent, and I don't know. But I do know that Matt Gaetz had a whole hell of a lot of luggage, and Pam Bondi does not. Yeah, you're right. Eric Holder claiming to be the wingman goes unnoticed by people like Jason Johnson and the rest of the panel hosts on MSNBC, CNN, and you know, whatever alphabet network you want to point to. But I think Pam Bondi is going to, as you said, hit the ground running. What I'm concerned about, Tom, and maybe you can weigh in, is the resistance is going to be massive to Pam Bondi. Even inside the DOJ, the bureaucrats, the deep state, call them what you will, they are not going to want to play ball with Pam Bondi. How does Bondi get over that? Does she just pull all of her high-level and mid-level management of DOJ into the office and just fire them at once? Or does she just pick them off one at a time as they raise their red heads?
There's a famous British politician who, prime minister, I believe, who his quote was, the first job of a prime minister is to be a good butcher. And Richard Nixon repeated that, and Nixon said, well, I wasn't a good butcher. Meaning that there was resistance to him and he had to deal with it. And he said he didn't do enough. Trump didn't do enough the first time. I don't blame him for that. He came from the outside. It was very difficult to hit the ground running, dealing with a massive bureaucracy and those inside of it. This time around, I don't think he's going to look. He's not running again.
Yeah.
Golda Meir used to say, if you do, former prime minister, of course, of Israel, she said, if you're going to do tough things, do them all at once and in the beginning, and people will forgive you for it when they see the results. I think Trump, and not just Pam Bondi, but across the board, you know, even with Doja, I'm going to call it like an Italian would, D-O-G-E, the Doja. I think they're good. I'm sorry, everybody, if I have this terrible cough. You might hear it later in the show. But the reality is, I think they're going to do that and not just leave it on her shoulder, although in significant part. I think people are going to, what's the phrase with immigration, self-deport themselves out of the DOJ. And they should. They've had a good life. They can retire. They're going to get a pension. But in the immortal words of somebody, there's a new sheriff in town.
Yeah, I don't think Pam Bondi is one to suffer fools, and I don't think she will. And I think you're absolutely right about Trump. The mandate is very clear from the American voters, and Trump has got nothing to lose. He'll throw it all on the line, and he's shown that not just through the selection of Pam Bondi, but through the selection of some of his other great cabinet picks. And you wanted to talk about Bessert, so let's dive in. What do you think about that? This is a Treasury gig. It was a big one. What's your feelings?
I was rooting for Scott. I know Scott. I know his philosophy on what he wants to do, and that's what's most important to me. Despite what Elon might have said, I don't think it'll be business as usual. Scott is enormously successful. His personal bio is one of not coming from a rich family, but creating wealth. And he says the reason why he wants to go from the private sector to this position, as he said, this could be the last chance for us to get the debt under control with the use of growing the economy before, in other words, tragedy strikes at a lot of levels. And so he is hyper focused on this 36 trillion in national debt. He wants to get the economy growing. He doesn't want, he's going to be a voice to say, we just can't keep spending in the Treasury position, which is not what Janet Yellen has been, right? Janet Yellen fosters this along with the Fed chair. And so why Scott Bessent is so important is because for someone like me who cares so much about economics, is that's his point of view. That's his mission. Better I say that. That's his mission in this particular case. He sees the debt for what it is. It's not just the elephant in the room. It's a herd of rhinos. And if you know about how rhinos charge, they put their head down and don't even really know. They just go forward and maul things. And that's what the debt's doing to America. And so I'm excited because I understand his mission. He's super smart guy, super successful guy, but he started as a little guy. And so when you put all those things together, and then I'm looking for the replacement of the Fed chair with someone who also understands that the Fed chair's position isn't just to print money to accommodate crazy spending. It is to advocate, as Greenspan used to do, for more sensible policies out of the Congress. So you throw these two things together, Steve, and I'm pumped. I was pushing for that. And I think we're going to talk about this on Newsmax tomorrow morning.
Well, it's going to be very interesting, especially when you throw Scott Bessert into the mix with Doge. They're probably going to be working hand in glove. And I just can't wait to see how it shakes out, because now, you mentioned the Fed, and he's already promised that he's not going to go anywhere. I mean, he said, no, I'm not going anywhere. I don't care if he fires me. When does that term run up, Tom? Do you know when his term is up?
Yeah, it would be during the Trump's presidency. So Trump will get to nominate the next Fed chair. So I think Kevin Marsh is who he will go with in that particular instance. I've spoken to Kevin, and he doesn't think the Fed should be fostering unlimited deficits. Hello. Why is this difficult? Central banks have caused more inflation, along with irresponsible Congresses and legislators, than any in history. And that's an easy lesson to learn. And why on earth we don't get this? But I know Scott Bessent gets it. And so the Fed will be going under changes as well. And hopefully Stephen Moore will get through and put on the board of the Fed as well.
Yeah. Jerome Powell, whether he likes it or not. And that's the thing, because I'll tell you, one thing, Tom, that sticks out to me is they are mortified of this. We just played the clip of Jason Johnson, mortified of Pam Bondi. She's going to change things. They're scared of Scott Bessert because he's going to change things within the Fed and within the outrageous spending in D.C. I think what they're really afraid of is that it's going to work. And
yes.
If it works, they're kind of left holding the bag saying, oh, come on, let us piss away more of your money. They don't have a leg to stand on politically, do they?
Yeah, and let me tell you how important in this couple of minutes we have left in this segment, what you just mentioned, this working. Trump got elected. No other person in politics in America exists with his backing, the loyalty to this, to him.
Yeah.
If this doesn't work, they aren't effective, and that's only not because their policies will work. It's a question of whether they politically succeed. But if they don't succeed and don't produce results, there's no next person coming along that has that loyalty. And so Republicans could be on the outs simply because they didn't follow through and fight hard enough, in my view. And so the left wants to stop it. I agree with you 1,000%. They think that all these people are really competent and that they could be effective. And that scares them, because if they are, then they lose in 40 years from now. So why don't you take it from there, give your comments on that, and then maybe wrap up this thing so we can get to our exciting guest from California.
Looking forward to that. Okay. Well, we'll wrap it there because that's a good end point. But it is going to be very interesting as we continue to watch this play out, and we can say, and once we start really getting the confirmations and it starts to gel, then you think you've seen panic now, folks. You just wait. When Pam Bondi gets confirmed, there's panic. When Scott Bessert gets confirmed, there's panic. We didn't even talk about Ken Vogt. He's another one that's got him scared. It's going to be very interesting to watch. Hey, listen, coming up on Del Beccaro and Hook, we will be joined by one of Tom's good friends, pardon me, and hopefully one of mine real soon. Tony Strickland will be joining us, and he's going to tell us the remarkable job he did in Huntington Beach, California, of all places. Don't forget to check us out every Sunday on YouTube at Del Beccaro and Hook, and, of course, our Rumble page, Del Beccaro and Hook. We'll be right back right after this.
The Donor Deck represents a groundbreaking independent crowdfunding initiative driven by patriots like you to bring back our esteemed President Donald J. Trump to office. With unwavering passion, we pledge all profits from the sale to MAGA Inc. and Fight Like a Flint PAC. The exquisitely detailed challenge coin is a timeless collectible to be passed down to generations. It symbolizes your continuous dedication to assisting President Trump in his quest to rejuvenate America to its former greatness. Get your Donor Deck now. Go to thepatriot.tv store and click on Donor Deck. Enjoy the magnificent artwork and scripture on each playing card, knowing our appreciation for your continuous dedication to assisting President Trump in his quest to rejuvenate America to its former greatness. You'll get this keepsake collectible challenge coin acknowledging your support for Donald Trump's run back to the White House, and the Donor Deck of 52 exquisite playing cards, plus a beautiful display case to show your challenge coin. Go to thepatriot.tv store and get your Donor Deck now.
Welcome back, everyone, to Del Beccaro and Hook. Remember to give us a follow on YouTube and Rumble, and please check us out on Patriot TV. That's at patriot.tv/DHED. So for our second segment, I'm super happy to have my longtime friend and great leader in California, Tony Strickland. Let me tell you a little story about Tony. All 6'4" of him, way back in the day when he was in his late 20s, was in the California legislature, and he sued Gray Davis. At the time, Gray Davis was a presidential hopeful, had gone back east pre-primary to places like New Hampshire. Yet he had made a horrible deal in energy for California, but he was hiding the details, wouldn't give up the contracts. And young Tony Strickland sued him, even though he was told over and over, as he will tell you, don't you dare do this. You have a career ahead of you. You take him on and you're done. Well, Tony Strickland's not done. Tony is going to be elected, I'll just say it, to the state Senate in early next year. He is the former mayor of Huntington Beach, and he's made a huge impact potentially on the nation because through his initiative in California, there is voter ID in Huntington Beach. And that is extraordinary because Gavin Newsom told him not to do this. Gavin Newsom sued Tony Strickland, and Gavin Newsom lost. And now Huntington Beach has voter ID, and the rest of the country, in all those blue states, if you're listening to us and you're a red city or town in a blue state, this is the path for you. Tony, great to see you. Thanks for coming aboard.
Thanks for having me on. It's an honor and privilege, Tom. And Steve, good to see you. And I really enjoy being on. Thank you for having me.
So, Tony, talk to us. Where'd this voter ID initiative, where'd you come up with this idea? What was the strategy? Go on, tell us.
Let's back up. So, as you know, Tom, I served in the legislature, both in the California State Assembly and the California State Senate. And this is not a new concept. In fact, when I was in the legislature, almost every year, I was on the elections committee. I wanted to bring voter integrity to California, and I would author a voter identification to bring voter integrity to California. Obviously, with the Democratic legislature, it got killed in first committee every single year. And the reason why I brought it forward, and this is before Donald Trump ever ran for office, think about it. The last 24 years, there's been 3 presidential campaigns that put in question the election outcome. We all remember Bush v. Gore, obviously Hillary Clinton when she lost to Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump in the election versus Biden. And so I used to go around when I was in the legislature and see some of these liberal states up in, Berkeley and in San Jose, and over by where you used to live, Tom. They would do crazy stuff, like they would do choice voting, they would do felons can vote, they would do 16-year-olds can vote, because Article 11, Section 5B in the California Constitution allows local municipalities to do election law. And so when I got elected to the Huntington Beach City Council, and I got elected mayor, I along with a guy named Pat Burns, we were huddling one day, and we said, hey, we should actually bring this forward to Huntington Beach and voter identification laws and voter ID in our elections. And we were dubbed the Fab Four in Huntington Beach, because what happened was in 2020, we had a 6-1 Democratic council. And in 2022, I, along with 3 other candidates, campaigned together. Gracie Vandermark, Pat Burns, Casey McKean, and myself, and we dubbed ourselves the Fab Four. We went around, we did a contract with Huntington Beach. If you knew Huntington Beach back then, homelessness was rampant everywhere in town. They weren't prosecuting crimes. And so we made a contract, like Newt Gingrich did, a contract with Huntington Beach. You elect us 4, we'll do these things. We'll make crime illegal again. We're going to sue the governor over these housing mandates that come down, because what he wanted to do, Gavin Newsom to Huntington Beach, he wants to destroy Huntington Beach like he did San Francisco. He wants us to be an urban center and do 50 high-rise, high-density buildings in a suburban coastal community that our community doesn't want. So we unleashed our city attorney, Michael Gates, on that lawsuit. We made crime illegal again, and we enforced our encampment laws. Let's fast forward. And I know we're talking about voter ID, but I want to brag about what we've done in Huntington Beach. We're the only city in Orange County. Our homelessness is down 60%. So now we're a destination city. We have 13 million visitors a year. If they had a bad experience, they're not coming back. Now we clean up the homeless situation. Crime is, we invested in our law enforcement. We're 30 officers down. Now we invested in our contract with our officers. Now we're back to where we need to be, and our city is safe. We're bringing things in like the air show. It's the largest air show in the country that brings in millions of dollars to our local economy. And we're showing conservative leadership does work, and it works in Huntington Beach. In fact, this last November, the 3 liberal, we call them the Newsom threesome, we went after them. We recruited 3 candidates, and all 3 of our candidates won. And so now we're called the Magnificent 7 in Huntington Beach.
Wow.
And what we're doing is we're moving forward on voter identification. In fact, when we introduced it, Rob Bonta, the Attorney General, and Gavin Newsom, the governor, sued us. They came after us. And I've been through this, as you know, Tom. I've been through the lawsuit with the governor before. And I said, hey, I'm ready to fight. And I give credit to our city attorney and our 3 other council members. They were willing to fight. They had a backbone, and they were willing to fight. And not only did we fight, I said it was a frivolous lawsuit because it's in the California Constitution. So they said they were going to sue us. On one hand, they said it's illegal already. They spent enormous amounts of money in the campaign to try to make sure it lost. Our voters voted for it. And the day after our voters voted for it, our local state senator, David Min, authored a bill to make it illegal to do voter identification. And at that time, I told David Min, who was state senator at the time, I said, look, it doesn't matter if you carry this bill. The only way that you can undo what we're doing in Huntington Beach is do a constitutional amendment. And I encouraged them to do a constitutional amendment, because that means you have to go to the voters of California and decide once and for all if they want voter integrity. Every poll I've seen, even 66% of Democrats support voter identification laws. And so my hope is they're not going to do it on their own from the top down. So my hope is that we fight and get now that we won the court case, that every local municipality in California that's a conservative municipality authors their own voter identification law and gets it done in all corners of California. And even bigger than that, in all the blue states across the country, I'm hoping that they see what we're doing in Huntington Beach and do the same in your community, because that's how we're going to get voter integrity into our elections and faith into our election outcomes. Because our democracy doesn't work if people don't have faith in that election outcome.
Here, here. Tony, welcome to the program. It's great to hear your story. Your story is effectively a blueprint, and I like the way you spell it out like that. Now, I just want to make sure I understand this. So I guess you put it on the ballot as a referendum or a special question, concerning residents of Huntington Beach. First of all, congratulations with Gray Davis. Good God. I mean, I'm glad he's gone. But now
he stopped him from becoming a presidential candidate right here.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful because he would have been horrible. But so too is gruesome Newsom. Now, so Newsom decides he's going to sue you guys. I assume this goes to the state Supreme Court. They look at the California Constitution and say, hey, you've got no standing here, Newsom. Huntington Beach can do whatever the hell Huntington Beach wants to do, correct?
Steve, not only that, actually, forgive me for not saying this, that already happened. In fact, they went to the court, and the court already threw out their lawsuit, and we won. So that's already a done deal, the court. Now, I assume that Rob Bonta is going to appeal, but it's very crystal clear in the California Constitution that we have this authority, and I'm very confident that we have a very, very good city attorney here, Michael Gates, in Huntington Beach, that I'm trying to encourage to run for Attorney General in California, because he's very talented and he's done a remarkable job for Huntington Beach. And we won this case and they've already threw it out. So again, I'm encouraging all local municipalities. And we put it in our constitution. We're a charter city, which we put to the voters of Huntington Beach. So now voter integrity is in our charter. The only way to undo it is by going back to the voters and trying to undo it. And again, the voters, this is overwhelmingly popular everywhere you go around the country. People have to use their identification, as you know, Steve, at their airports. They have to use it to get medicine. They have to use it to get their welfare programs. You have to have an ID for almost everything you do. And so the very thought that you don't have identification for our elections is absurd.
Yeah, well, they're shameless though, Tony. They're shameless. They just don't really give a rip. And I think it's wonderful. I'm wondering if this kind of lawsuit effectively starts springing up. I think it's going to be incumbent upon every state constitution to have this provision in it that California does. What about those blue states that don't have that provision, that say, no, the governor's office decides? Or do most blue states have this kind of a escape hatch, really?
Steve, I really don't know the answer to that question. I knew California, but again, I would encourage them to look at their constitution and look if they have the authority in those blue states and push this idea forward from the ground up. At the end of the day, the more people talk about this issue, the more people push this issue, the more it's going to get adopted at the top. And so, again, it's not a Republican or Democrat thing, because again, there's been 3 presidential campaigns since 2000 that have questioned election outcome. And so I think voter integrity and voter ID puts faith in that election outcome system. And let's face it, in California, I'm just going to talk about California. I always say you can't ignore the 5th largest economy in the world. I know most of the country wants to, and I get it. But at the end of the day, we're not going to turn California around if we don't turn our election system around here, because and when I was in the legislature, at the time you needed a 2/3 vote to pass a budget, and my colleagues were worried about losing the 2/3 because of taxes, as they should. But I even said in caucus back then, the thing I'm most fearful of, if they ever got the 2/3, which they did, they would change the election law, and they changed the election law to the worse. And my hope is when I go back to Sacramento that we can come up with election reform here in California and turn California back around.
Yeah, the current polling nationally has 84% of voters want voter ID. Tony, wasn't there other lawsuits against other cities that changed their election laws in the state? They couldn't do that, and that was rejected as well, right?
Yeah, it was actually the state of California versus San Francisco on one of their local ones. And I believe the other one was Oakland. But yeah, it was funny because Rob Bonta isn't a big fan of mine. When they sent the letter to me, I made fun of him as an attorney. I said it was a frivolous lawsuit. You know, I mean, he's a terrible attorney. I mean, he's lost almost everything he's done. He doesn't understand law. He forgot law when he went to law school. You know,
there you go. So,
yeah,
so folks,
he's just a
Huntington
political
Beach.
figure. That's all he is. And just like Kamala Harris was when she was the attorney general, they're just political figures, and they're not really good attorneys. They're no John Double Carl, I'll tell you that.
Folks, you're watching Del Beccaro and Hook. My good friend Tony Strickland is on. He was former mayor of Huntington Beach. They had quite the, I don't know, I'll call it a coup. They have enacted voter ID and survived a lawsuit from Gavin Newsom. Huntington Beach, if you want to Google it, is a charming, small beach town in the Los Angeles area. And of course, the Democrats want to control it and tell people how to live their lives. And Huntington Beach is fighting back. Tony, if we can just broaden this just for a moment, how did you read the electorate in California on November 5th with regard to the Prop 36, turning back the clock on Newsom's easy on crime? And then what the heck is LA doing creating a sanctuary city?
Well, the city council in LA and Gavin Newsom are out of touch with reality. End of the day, it was a remarkable night for the conservative movement. Obviously, Donald Trump did extremely well everywhere. I think Donald Trump has made us a working class party. And we're all very excited. I believe that, you know, every 2 years they say it's the most important election of our lifetime. This one was. And I often say my dad served in Korea and Vietnam, the country that my dad fought for had we not won this election. And so we're very excited about the new president coming in. And actually, I think God's plan is better than your plan, because where we are today, Donald Trump has more experience and he's putting the right people in the right spots to get things done, to drain the swamp, so to speak. And so I'm very excited about the national. But in California, as you said, you know, we made crime illegal again. You know, our Proposition 36 passed overwhelmingly. I think when you talk about our initiatives in California, the center right did extremely well. We shot down a rent control initiative. We shot down a minimum wage initiative. We passed Prop 36, made crime illegal again. And Gascon, who was one of the worst Soros DAs in the country, who didn't prosecute anything, overwhelmingly got beat as DA of Los Angeles. I'm very bullish on the future of California. We need to change election laws here, but we have some great candidates. And I honestly believe California is worth fighting for. After Larry Elder lost, and by the way, Steve, you know, you mentioned Gray Davis. No one's more responsible for Gray Davis, and I say this on the campaign trail. No one's more responsible for Gray Davis for being limited and recalled than myself. I would kill for Gray Davis today compared to Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom's the worst governor in California history. It's not even close.
Yeah, but he's got great hair. He's got great hair.
He destroyed San Francisco. I used to go visit Tom and up in the Bay Area. I used to love going to San Francisco. It was one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and he destroyed it. And now he's destroying California. God help us. And I tell this, and I did interviews nationally during the campaign. You do not want to see California spread across the country. You know, Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom. End of the day, go look at what it costs for a gallon of gas here in California and say, do you want that coming to your state? Do you want those crazy policies that are coming from Gavin Newsom going to your state? He's destroyed, and those are government policies. It's the first time in California history where we actually lost congressional representation after a census since the gold rush. And that's only because of the failed policies of Gavin Newsom.
Let me ask you this.
And now he's running around the state saying, oh, we got to figure out how to bring jobs back. Between January of 2022 and June of 2024, there were 5,400 private sector jobs created, 180 a month. And he's like, I'm shocked.
Well, now he's going around saying, oh, we need to work on the homeless crisis, homelessness. Look what we did in Huntington Beach. Like, first of all, Gavin Newsom spends billions of dollars. He was missing $24 billion that is unaccounted for. And he spent billions of dollars, and the problem's getting worse across the state of California. Let's look at what we did in Huntington Beach. The first day I got elected as mayor, our Fab Four came in, and we had a homeless czar that was making more money than our city manager that ran the whole city. I looked at that and said, does that person really want to fix the homeless problem? Of course not. So the first thing we did is we eliminated that position, got rid of the homeless czar, and we enforced our encampment laws. And our homelessness is down 60%. And we didn't need the billions of dollars that Gavin Newsom's been wasting. It's become a homeless industrial complex.
Yeah.
And really, his policies have become an economic development agency for states like Idaho, Tennessee, Florida, and Texas. Those low regulation, low tax states. People are fleeing California, going there because of one thing. We have the best weather in the world. Let's face it. Right now, it's sunny in Huntington Beach. It's beautiful. We have a beautiful beach. People are leaving here to go to the middle of the desert. No offense in some areas, but like, are you kidding me? We have the best weather in the world, but people are leaving here because of Gavin Newsom's policies.
Let me ask you this, Tony. Tony, real quick, just getting back to the Huntington Beach voter identification. This really came under the spotlight when Kemp down in Georgia decided he was going to do a Georgia voter ID. And of course, we all remember Major League Baseball yanked the All-Star game from Atlanta. Biden started calling it Jim Crow 2.0. Hell, he even called it Jim Eagle, as if that meant something. That went nowhere, and Georgia ended up adopting the new voter identification law. Not only did they get more voters than in any time in the history of the state, but they got a better plurality of both parties being represented. So it was a complete, like I said, they're completely shameless. My question to you, Tony, is this worked in Huntington Beach. You mentioned the numbers. Somewhere between 70 and 80% of voters, regardless of party or affiliation, say, yeah, we need voter integrity. Could this ever be put on a state referendum? And how would that go?
So thanks for the question, Steve. And in fact, I'm running a special election to go back to the state Senate to bring what I call Surf City common sense up to Sacramento that doesn't have common sense. And one of the first bills I'm going to author is this idea. I'm the only author of voter identification law in California. And I'm going to author that, again, like I tried when I was in the legislature last. I assume the Democrats and the supermajority will kill it. But I'm going to be part of a team that's going to do a referendum, a proposition, and put a election reform proposition on the ballot in 2026. And I'm hopeful that we can get a lot of support, not only here in California, nationwide, because again, we're not going to turn California around if we don't have these voter integrity laws. And I do believe that we can turn California around, and this will be the first step of many steps to bring back the golden state that once was. And I'm going to be a leader in that effort, and we're going to bring this as a statewide effort come 2026.
Great to hear. Great to hear.
But in the meantime, Steve, we need local municipalities around California to pass it in their city and get the momentum for 2026. And that's why I'm encouraging. I went to the California Republican Convention, and I'm encouraging all those cities. And if you're a volunteer activist to help elect a city councilman or mayor, hold their feet to the fire and say, you need to do what Huntington Beach did, and we need to move forward on this, and we need to get voter integrity laws, and hold your council members and your mayors accountable. Why aren't you doing what Huntington Beach is doing? Because we absolutely need this to turn the state around.
Yeah. So in other words, this could effectively kind of turn into a snowball thing. The supermajority in Sacramento may shoot it down, but then you go to the next little hamlet that is red or slightly, maybe, I don't know, purple, and they do it, and then it just starts kind of building on its own, strengths. I mean, all of a sudden, everybody starts doing it. I'm wondering how long it would take before Sacramento finally saw the light, but I don't know that they ever will, so long as the Dems hold the supermajority. God, they want to Californiaize the entire country, and as you mentioned, that ain't going to play for a lot of places in this country.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think they're out of touch. I mean, just look what just happened. They called a special session to raise the gas prices. I mean, the number one issue for most Americans was inflation. And a big part of the inflation, as you know, is our energy cost. And what did Gavin Newsom do? He increased our gas tax by, I think, 45 cents a gallon. You know, people are having to decide between a gallon of milk and a gallon of gas here, and it falls disproportionate on hardworking families. And so that's another thing I'm going to tackle when I get back up to Sacramento is talk about out of touch. They're out of touch, and we need to bring common sense up there, and we need to bring fighters. It's no longer good enough just to have a conservative vote. You need people up there that were willing to fight. Like Tom said, when I came forward, I was in my late 20s, early 30s when I sued Grady Davis in a lawsuit, Strickland v. Davis. And a lot of my Republican colleagues tried to talk me out of it and said I was going to end my political career. Well, that old saying is, I'm still standing and I'm still fighting, and where I'm going to fight. The joke, a lot of people who know me really well, I love sports and politics in that order. And when I die, I'm buried in Chicago so I can remain politically active. Because it's in my blood. It's in my blood. I'm a fighter, and I believe in this country. My dad's my hero, who since passed away, but he earned a Bronze Star for valor, and he served over 20 years in the military. He fought for this country, and the biggest lesson I learned from my father, it's up to every generation to leave the next generation better off than what you had. Better off
Reagan-esque.
More opportunity than what you have. I believe this is the first time in American history where that's in question. Every other generation before us, since the beginning of our nation, has left the next generation with more opportunity. That's what's at hand. That's why these elections are important, from the president down to park district. Everyone, it does matter who you elect. And I'm out there fighting for the good fight because I believe in this country. And I want my kids and grandkids to have more opportunity than I had. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Tony, we got to wrap this up. What's your website and how people can follow you and get a hold of you?
Well, you can go to TonyStrickland.com and at Tony Strickland. I think it's listed underneath my Twitter and account. So my X account, I should say. And both, by the way, I have to say this: Elon Musk helped save this world, and I just love Elon Musk and what he did. Most people in his position would not have taken that risk. He knew what was at stake, and he got rid of censorship, and he fought for people's voice to be heard, and he deserves a lot of credit for saving this country. And so I want to put a shout out to Elon Musk as well.
All right, Tony, thanks so much for coming on today. Thanks for your leadership in California. I look forward to working on that voter ID initiative with you, maybe walk a precinct with you like we did in the old days for your election. Folks, you're watching Del Beccaro and Hook. Thanks so much to our guest, future state senator Tony Strickland, but all-around great guy and great leader for California, Tony Strickland. We'll be back with the show wrap-up after this. Thanks so much.
I couldn't give anything a higher endorsement.
I would be remiss had I not include Cardio Miracle on my very short list of secrets.
It's the real deal. It's a real product. It's not another supplement.
I'm operating about 6 to 8 hours, and I've noticed that being on this Cardio Miracle has made a huge difference.
Since I started taking Cardio Miracle, about 8 months into it, the benefits have been fantastic.
You know, if I get hungry, then I just have a Cardio Miracle.
Not only is it safe, but it's necessary to take Cardio Miracle to stay well.
This let me sleep. It's feeling like more energy, more get up and go. And it's all because of what this company does.
For me as a doctor, Cardio Miracle is a staple.
Cardio Miracle to me is hope in a glass.
To try Cardio Miracle for yourself and get a special fan discount, go to the host page right now and click the link for Cardio Miracle.
Welcome back, everyone, to Del Beccaro and Hook. It's time for another episode of LLI. That's liberals losing it.
Something tells me, Tom, we could have this segment on every show for time in memoriam because they are always going to lose it, especially these days. But listen, before we jump into the fun and the frivolity of liberals losing it, Let me tell you about the best way to stay in touch with Del Beccaro and Hook and support our mission. You got to visit our Patriot page, patriot.tv/DHED. You're going to find all of our episodes, so you can go back and see just how prescient we were, and you'll also be connected with all of our affiliates that make this show possible. If you want more, here's an idea. Become a Patriot Defender on patriot.tv to unlock exclusive programming, member-only discounts, and a whole lot more. Don't forget, by the way, to use the promo code DHED. That'll get you 30% off your membership, and this code also gives you access to great savings across the Patriot store and, of course, great deals with all our affiliates, including Cardio Miracle. Get this risk-free. Feel energized, improve your circulation, support your heart. Cardio Miracle. It's the ultimate nitric oxide and vitamin D supplement packed with over 50 essential nutrients. It's your key to a better day and a better health day every day. Try Cardio Miracle for 60 days. If you don't feel better or see the difference, we're going to give you the money back. It's unconditional happiness guarantee. All you've got to do is take it faithfully, 2 servings. That's 4 scoops a day. And if you're not satisfied, we'll refund your purchase. Use promo code DHED for checkout for these exclusive discounts. Order now at patriot.tv/DHED and check out the difference. Cardio Miracle. Okay, Tom, speaking of Cardio Miracle, let's show what
Let's go to an episode of liberals losing it because democracy works sometimes against them.
Yes, it does. Check some of these clips out, and then we will talk. I think the first one is our dear friend Joy Reid. She's panicked, and here she is.
And if you're voting affirmatively, gleefully for this, and people may not feel so confident in you anymore. That's real, and you kind of have to live with it. So if you think that you can vote for what people see as their destruction and then demand that they still are cool with you and kiki with you and have Thanksgiving with you, like, I think you're kind of missing the point of what people are upset about. They're afraid. And autocracy and fascism are things that are legitimate to be afraid of. So you may want to step back.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the only fascists in history were the ones who did censoring.
Yeah.
And spying on the press. That would be, oh yeah, that's right, Obama's wingman.
Yeah.
Eric Holder allowed spying on the press. They did the censoring under Biden. And in fact, what was it, 275 million on disinformation. So yeah, there's one. But I like your next clip as well. Why don't we do that?
Yeah. Let's go straight into it.
I think that's why people like our show, because they know that we are checked by ABC News. But
we're checked by everybody.
Yeah, I mean, if we're wrong, we have the legal note here.
Mm-hmm. The human legal note.
But we went from Walter Cronkite, basically, to this guy Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. I checked it. He believes in dragons? He believes in dragons.
Did you triple source that?
Yes, I did. And he also thinks that dragons, like dinosaur type of animals, roam the earth when people...
No, okay, so she's talking about Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
What Joe Rogan did and talked about is that the myth of dragons, where its origins were, comparing it to dinosaurs. He did not say that a week ago Thursday or 100,000 years ago there were dragons, except for on The View. He certainly is open to that possibility. That's my commentary, not what he said.
It certainly did look like Joy Behar was about to breathe fire there. There is no doubt that the media and a View, I guess, hey, listen, man, they say that they're fact-checked by ABC News. That's that's one
of the best lines. That's one of the best lines of the year.
I know. It's like there's a real feather in your cap there. But the thing that's so funny about it is, Tom, and you notice this, and I notice it. You can't help but notice it. I think most Americans notice it. They are so woefully out of touch with everyday Americans. Joe Rogan is very much a bubble. Joe Rogan is not out of touch. He talks about stuff that strikes a chord with people, even if it's dragons. But I love what Joe Rogan did because he not only took the bait, he ran with it. He changed his profile on X and all of his socials to Joe Rogan, Dragon Believer. And I mean,
yeah, and his show, folks, keep in mind, has more followers and people listen to him than ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC
combined.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And you know, something else is, you notice that panic on Joy Reid when she was talking about how, hey, listen, you need to understand, take a step back and understand. First of all, that's projection of the highest order, as you kind of pointed out, because they're the ones that do everything they're accusing Trump of wanting to do. But I think they're also petrified that they're about to lose a gig. Their numbers have tanked. And I mean tanked by like 70% or more since election day. That's across the board. MSNBC, CNN, even the alphabet networks are losing, hemorrhaging viewers and listeners. And people like Joe Rogan are picking them up. And this has got them scared. So the other day, and I floated this about a week ago, I said, wouldn't it be funny if Elon Musk bought MSNBC? Well, guess what? Elon Musk is now thinking about buying MSNBC. And people like Joy Reid are absolutely shell-shocked at this.
Would he put a long-haired, gray-haired wingman, my wingman, would he put him on that? I don't know.
Maybe you and I could be hosting The View. Who knows?
The odd couple strikes again.
Yeah.
So that, folks, is our liberals losing it episode for today. But you know, I want to reinforce what you said, and you said this in our first segment, I believe, with regard to Pam Bondi. They are worried that not only that Trump and the Republicans have the attention of America, have their trust right now, they're also worried that their policies are going to work, and they could go out into the wilderness, which is what Jen Psaki used that word. I used that word in my last op-ed, which you can get at politicalvanguard.com and tomdell.com. The reality for the Democrats is, like the Labour Party in England, was when you go too far left, it's too difficult to come back because your elites truly believe this stuff. They're the party of big government. They may not make their way back. And that's their fear, is that they know that oil prices are coming down. They know business is going to boom. They're against all those things, it seems. And so they're genuinely worried, like you pointed out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, folks, that's this week, this past week in a nutshell. Make sure you join us next week for another great edition of Del Beccaro and Hook. We'll do it all over again. And remember to follow us on Rumble and our YouTube pages and bookmark our Patriot page. Do that. Patriot.tv/DHED. Patriot.tv/DHED. Until next week, goodbye.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.